Hampi, the capital city of the erstwhile Vijayanagara Empire from the 14th century, currently a UNESCO World Heritage Site. After planning for a monsoon ride through the Western Ghats and having fed up with about 10 days of incessant rainfall, I came to Hampi to get away from the rain. Because the eastern part of Karnataka gets less rainfall, I took a room very close to the Virupaksha temple, the most visited place in Hampi. Due to this period being off-season, that is the June-July period with less tourists, I got the room very cheap, like about 350 rupees. And it is also very close to this attraction. Also a Hindu pilgrimage site, the Virupaksha temple. Almost all the homestays, the cheapest ones, are near the Virupaksha temple. Unlike most of the other monuments and temples at Hampi, Virupaksha temple is a bit unique. This is a historically significant pilgrimage site and people come to Hampi just to visit this temple. Another name for this temple is Pampapati because of the Tungabhadra river, I think. The main deity of the temple is Virupaksha, one of the incarnations or avatars of Lord Shiva. Even the history of this temple predates the Vijayanagara Empire. It starts from the 7th century. The Vijayanagara Empire became prominent more after the 10th century and more towards the 14th century. However, the temple got its present shape, the design and its architecture during the 14th century under the Vijayanagara ruler Devaraya II. During the 16th century, Vijayanagara Empire was decimated by the enemies, and the same fate fell upon the Virupaksha temple. Nevertheless, the Virupaksha temple has been renovated during the 19th century and quite extensively. But that is not the case with the other numerous monuments and temples of Hampi. It is all in ruins. To me, Hampi looked like a collection of rocks and boulders, at least initially. Then again, look closely and you can see a lot of large and small structures, temples and monuments, all of them built from these rocks. What remains at Hampi are these rock-carved structures built during those periods. Virupaksha temple is a renowned Hindu pilgrimage site, so a lot of people visit it. There is no seasonality as such, except for the festival which I think is in December. So at the temple, there are a lot of people, irrespective of the time of the day and the days of the year. But that is not the case with the other historic areas and monuments of Hampi. I saw only a very few people in those places. Perhaps due to the season, it has started raining even here. At around 14th century, Vijayanagara Empire achieved its height of prosperity. Hampi, the capital of the empire, at that time was considered as one of the largest and prosperous cities of the world. A mighty empire and a prosperous city, even for a small period of time. And what remains of it are these rocks and boulders. And of course, the small and large constructions, the structures, the monuments, the temples, and various other things built from these stones. Even though the empire and the city was almost completely decimated, its prosperity and its might could be understood by looking at these monuments. Just imagine the sheer size of the place. The ruins of Hampi are spread across an area of about 30 square kilometers. Days and even weeks are not enough to visit and see all these monuments and structures of Hampi. A simple exploration of Hampi will reveal to you that it is kind of an open-air museum of temples, monuments, halls, marketplaces, various statues and unknown structures built over a long period of time with different architectural styles and designs, but almost all of them in ruins. Apart from those architectural marvels, Hampi, to me, looked like a desert of these rocks and boulders, big and small, in different shapes. Some of them looks like almost about to fall down the hill, just with a slight touch of the hand. After going through the Western Ghats of Karnataka, the green-covered forest, for about 10 days in incessant rainfall, this place looks completely different. This rock-covered hill and the boulders on it are very close to the Virupaksha temple, the Hemakuta Hill. And built on this rocky hill are various monuments and temples carved from these very stones and boulders. Moving away from the Virupaksha temple and just in front of it is a 1 kilometer long ancient marketplace, also made or carved completely from rocks. The structures are rock carved. Or rather, they are the ruins of the ancient marketplace, and similar marketplaces are spread across different parts of Hampi. This huge marketplace alone is sufficient to indicate the prosperity of Hampi during those periods. Even though the enemies decimated these places, almost all these places during the 16th century, some of these structures are still standing because they are built from rocks. However, some of these structures, like the one on the left side, seems to be quite new or built very recently. It doesn't look like from the 16th century. I think at least some of these are recent buildings or maybe renovations from the old times. And one reason is the police station on the left side here. It is inside a similar structure, perhaps built or developed very recently, or at least renovated very recently, to make it look as if from the 16th century. So in a way they are trying to preserve the architectural and cultural style of Hampi. Then again, large stones and boulders are plenty here, and for that reason we can see this kind of monolithic or single stone carved statues, this one of Nandi. Such kind of monolithic or single stone carved statues and structures are quite plenty at Hampi, but some of them are in ruins. Similar to almost all large and small tourist attractions, there are a lot of guides at Hampi. I myself took the services of a guide for one day to visit the most important places of Hampi. And that is just a handful of places. As I said before, days and weeks are not enough to completely visit and see all the attractions of Hampi. I had come to this place only for a brief visit, like for a 2-day break from the rain-drenched areas of the Western Ghats. I had heard about Hampi, its scale, its magnificent architectural styles, the temples, statues and all that. But it is only after coming here that I realized the sheer scale of the place. The scale of the place completely surprised me, and 2 or 3 days are kind of an insult to Hampi. However, as like most other tourists, I only spent 2 days. On the first day, I went around with the tour guide to see the most important places of Hampi. The second day, I did a solo exploration, but that is not enough. I think I should be here at least one more time and should spend at least a week to explore the place. So the 2-day tour I did was kind of running around the place, looking at the things, looking at the beauty, looking at the architecture. Not enough to gain much information or knowledge about the place. Even though there was a good enough guide with me, I should confess, the information I gained and the knowledge I got during this run-around visit is not sufficient to provide a good description of all these places. Then again, I did not take too many photos or videos during this run-around visit. I was just busy going from one place to another. In fact, some of these places at Hampi requires your attention for one full day. Just at this place, there are things to see around and should take you at least half a day to understand all of them. For example, this structure, this building, is inside a fort. Most of the fort is ruined. Now this is the place where the elephants were kept, the elephant stable, and this itself is very huge, very big. The architecture and design of this elephant stable itself is magnificent. Just to give an example of the prosperity and the might of Vijayanagara Empire and its capital Hampi. So what I am trying to tell is that there are similar large and small structures of different architectural styles, different designs all around Hampi. One day is enough to get a fleeting glimpse of the place. 3 days may be sufficient to gain a slight enough understanding. So if you're planning to come here, make sure you plan for about 3 days at least, the minimum. Otherwise, you're kind of insulting the place itself. Then again, the place is still expanding. That is, the tourist attraction or the places to visit are ever expanding because the Archaeological Survey of India is conducting continuous explorations. Then there are a number of renovations being conducted to the structures which were ruined during the 16th century. So some of the places like small temples and other structures were out of bounds for the tourists when I visited. But hopefully they will complete the renovations and open it soon, and they will also find new structures from the surveys and explorations. After the decimation of Hampi, the capital of Vijayanagara Empire, the empire itself was dismantled. The city was abandoned or unoccupied. After a long time, that is during the 18th century, during the British period, a survey conducted at this place provided a glimpse of the might of Hampi, or opened up Hampi to the world. Even though a large number of explorations and excavations were conducted during the British period, the recent explorations and excavations by the Archaeological Survey of India found out a large number of these structures, buildings, monuments, temples and so on, and opened it up to the tourists. Hampi is a must-visit place for anybody interested in the history of India and the architecture of ancient India. Even though the great attractions or the ruins of the Hampi town are considered to be situated within an area of 30 square kilometers, which itself is huge, there are a lot of other peripheral structures outside this place. Anyway, I was only here for just about 2 days, absolutely not enough, and I should be visiting here once more. Now I'm not going to prolong this video for too long. I took only a very few photos and videos, and I'm not going to include all of them here because there are a lot of videos about Hampi done by a lot of other people. Maybe I'll do one more video in future and probably give a good description of at least some of the places. Anyway, I left Hampi and I'm now going back to the Western Ghats again. But on the way, I'm visiting another historical place, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but very small in size, the Pattadakal UNESCO World Heritage Site, which can be visited in one day. Then there is the Badami Caves. So my next video is my ride to these places and my visit to Pattadakal and Badami. And the link to my next video is just about here, the one on the right side. Thank you.